Hey. Okay, so trying this again. It was saying my internet connection was unstable, but I think it's okay. I looked at the video and I think it's okay. So here we are, my beautiful friends on Facebook. Happy Thursday afternoon for me and for you, or whenever it is that you are tuning in here. Um, yeah, I'm just hanging on a Thursday on our new sectional that we got here. It's very comfortable sectional, and JF is in the kitchen. He's doing some cooking for his syrup tonics, and baby is still napping. We're still recovering a little, as you might be able to hear in my voice, and it's also why I haven't really been on here a whole lot lately. Is just man, it's been a big cleanse, a big cleansing time for me. A lot of letting go of stuff, my lungs and whatnot, and it sounds like it's been that case for a few people as well, but finally starting to feel back to myself isn't quite the right word, but just that health is being restored, maybe because, it's always about transforming and, allowing stuff to be transmuted and shifting. So anyways, lots of things to chat about, and one of the things I wanted to chat about is something that comes up relatively frequently with people when I'm talking about using music and sound, or when I'm exploring with people about possibly stepping into using sound more as a practice, using sound as medicine for themselves and then for others. And that is this idea of being a quote unquote, my air quotes, of professional musician, right? And by professional musician, I mean by, I guess, mainstream standards, and that's a whole topic on and of itself in terms of, what do we mean by what distinguishes a professional from non-professional or amateur. But basically, I think people are asking from a place of maybe not feeling confident about their musical skills that they have, about their voice, about what they know, or feeling like they need to learn more, which is totally valid and totally fair. And so my stance on it, if you read the caption of this live, is that you absolutely do not need to consider yourself a professional musician, because often the consideration is coming from you. You are the one that gets to choose, am I a professional musician or not, in a lot of ways, right? Obviously, audience can vote on that too, but whether you're earning income from that in a way that's professional, blah, blah, blah. We won't go down that rabbit hole. However, no, you do not need to be a professional musician, and here's a bunch of reasons why. And first and foremost is that we have the elements of music within us at all times. Okay, so for example, rhythm. We've got all kinds of rhythm happening in our bodies, from our breath to our heartbeat to our circadian rhythms to the routines we get into, to our walking, to the rhythm of brushing our teeth. So we use rhythm lots. We are connected to melody, and we have voices. We use melody in our voices when we're talking. We don't just talk like this monotonely. We talk with prosody, and we use inflection, and so we're connected to melody. We are connected to speed, tempo, faster tempo, slower tempo. We're connected to dynamics. We can amplify our dynamics or bring our dynamics down, right? So there's more, but this to say that we already know about the elements of music because we use them. They're in us. Okay. So we have music, we have sound in us inherently. And so it's just a matter of, what I will say, what is more important than being a quote unquote professional musician is being willing to deepen and maybe even reorient your connection to listening. Okay. And being willing to explore what it means to come into a different relationship with listening, with embodied listening, I'll often call it, with a listening that isn't just kind of in the background or superficially, or even just listening through our ears. Being able to tap into listening to receive information, be it sensation in our bodies, be it images, be it colors, be it a knowing of where the sound needs to go, for example, right? So it's really about using musical experiences or deepening into learning different instruments in order to connect more deeply with the process of listening to self, listening inwards often, right? Listening more deeply within, so that then we can also access a deeper sense of knowing and listening to all that's around us, and not just from our ears, from a whole different perspective. That to me is more important than calling oneself a professional musician. And no, I'm not trying to say that, no, we don't need to spend time learning. I'm not trying to say that we don't need to spend time connecting with instruments. We don't need to spend time connecting with our voice. We don't, oh yeah, whatever, we can just pick it up and whatever. And oh, the singing bowl, and we can just rub it, whatever. No, I'm definitely not saying that. What I am saying is that we don't need to have that basis of being a quote unquote professional musician. And in fact, sometimes it's actually a benefit to not have that history with performance, and especially performing other people's music, because when we're using sound for healing, it's not about performing compositions that were beautiful but made by other people, perhaps hundreds of years ago, or pretending or trying to sound or be a tribute band or try to sound exactly like somebody else. It's actually about connecting to what vibration, what frequency wants to move through us, okay? Be it through our voices, be it through a drum, be it through a metallic bowl, be it through a singing bowl, be it through a handpan, be it through the different tools that we can use for transformational purposes, okay? So really, it can be of benefit to not have that history, because sometimes it's easier to then go, okay, what is here for me to connect with? What is here for me to sound with? What is here for me to express through my voice, through this instrument? What wants to be expressed in order for there to be a shift? What wants to be expressed in order for there to be an expansion in some way, right? So these are just examples I'm pulling off the cuff. So absolutely, it's about deepening into or changing or transforming your relationship with listening, with being present, with connecting to what it means to have an embodied listening practice. And this can go really deep. I mean, we could spend lifetimes practicing listening. And that's the fun part of it. But we get to practice listening through different explorations, through different instruments. And the big thing about this, again, is that we're not anchoring in someone else's sound. We're not anchoring in someone else's idea of what is beauty, what is an aesthetic expression, not even aesthetic, or what is a needed expression musically or sonically. It's about what wants to move through us, and really being of devotion to what wants to move through us. So that's what it means to be a sound practitioner. That's what it means to be a sound healer, to be in surrender and devotion to what wants to move through. Yes, that does mean learning and giving devotion to different instruments. Okay, it doesn't mean just like, oh, I'm just going to pick up this drum and whatever. It does mean spending time even with a metronome sometimes, and sitting down and like, okay, really, really getting into what it feels like to play a steady beat, so that then I can play a steady beat when I'm feeling called to play a steady beat in the moment, or a syncopated do 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 do, or something like that in the moment. So it does take the devotion of practice, absolutely. So I'm not just saying, oh, just pick up an instrument, whatever. No, not at all. But what I am saying is pick up an instrument and listen, connect with that instrument. What does that instrument want to express through you? Okay. Yeah, I could go on about this. I would love to hear from you in the chat how that is landing, or what your experiences have been with performing. Let's call it that. Yeah, performing versus expressing what wants to move through you. Okay, performing sound or performing anything versus expressing what wants to move through you. How do those two different ideas feel to you? Does one feel, I won't even categorize it for you. How do those two different things feel? Performing versus expressing what wants to move through. Let me know in the chat. And I'll just speak to that really, really briefly. I remember when I was first exposed and invited to be part of, a sound meditation. I guess they were calling it. It was back in, oh my gosh, 20 years ago now. I'm thinking of back in the early 2000s. Oh my gosh, it's so weird to say that was 20 years ago. Okay. Anyway, so I was on my yoga journey, or initial stages of my yoga journey, just done a couple trainings. I was at Yashodhara Ashram, which is out near Nelson, BC, a really beautiful, beautiful ashram, and where there's a lot of focus on mantra, on kirtan, on deep meditation and reflection. And, there's regular satsangs or gatherings in the evening in a beautiful, I think they call it the Temple of Divine Light. It's really lovely, beautiful acoustics. And so we would go in there and use a lot of sound, a lot of chanting, a lot of in the moment sounding in order to connect in a meditative way, connect with yoga, connect with unifying our body with our mind and hearts through sound. And for me, who had come from a bit of a music background, okay, so I'd been through university for starting through voice and then went on to music therapy, and so had experience with music in its performative sense in a lot of ways. And then kind of coming into this experience of music and sound just allowing what wants to move through. That's the only way I have to describe it. So you can call it healing, you can call it meditative, the yoga of sound maybe is a better way for me to say it, right? And for me, it really felt like I was not putting on someone else's clothes. So performance, and I'm not trying to knock performance can be awesome, entertainment's great, concerts are awesome, festivals are awesome. However, I found when I was singing other people's music, when I was doing covers, when I was even, performing beautiful art songs or Bach or all that kind of stuff, there was still an element, for me anyways, of wearing somebody else's clothes. Yes, I was interpreting or I was styling it kind of in a different way. But when I come into these experiences where I'm offering sound in a really improvisatory way, in a way that is to connect into the yoga of sound, to connect with what wants to move through me, it is very much it is completely about me and spirit, basically. What essence of spirit wants to move through me? What clothing, it's my clothing, basically. My version of the divine and my authenticity, co-created, of course, with source, etc., whatever name you want to use, but connecting and tapping into that on a more profound level through deep listening. And it just felt more comfortable. It felt way more real. It felt way more fulfilling, satisfying, gratifying, all that stuff. Like I could scratch that itch of allowing what wanted to be expressed through me, as opposed to needing to interpret someone else's expression. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just, they're just different. They're different ways of coming at it. And so when we're using sound for medicinal or healing purposes, it's not that I never use other people's music. That's totally not the case, but more often than not, it's about tapping into something in the moment. It's about responding to who's in the room, and to the instinct, into the frequency, the pulse that I'm getting from the room, and interpreting that through sound. Yes, that does require me to have some basics around how to play steady beat on my drum, how to be able to evoke a smooth transition on my crystal singing bowls and not blast them to kingdom come so that the whole room is shaking and vibrating, right? There does require some devotion of time and skill. And it also is about listening and allowing what wants to move through me to come through. Yeah? All right. I think that's all I want to say about that. There's a bunch of other reasons why you don't have to be a quote unquote, my one air quotes here because I'm holding the phone, a professional, or consider yourself to be a professional musician. And another big part of that, which I won't go on big detail about, is just the imposter syndrome that can come with, oh, I need to have some sort of classification in order to do this thing. And what I would just speak to really briefly about that is to use sound and experiment with sound for yourself. Absolutely, 100% not. You don't need any kind of background training. All you need is the desire to go in. What I would say about that is when you are wanting to start to hold space for other people, that yes, then getting mentorship, getting some certification and training, having some guidance and feedback around that is really important, because we don't necessarily want to go in and just experiment with other people. Yes, we do want to have tools in terms of how to hold space, in terms of how to walk with people through things that might rise, about how to adjust and shift. It's not just about our sound for ourselves then, right? It's about responding to other people's vibrations then as well and letting that come through me, right? So it's not about being a professional musician. It's about getting mentorship about how to let your sound, your unique vibration move through you. So I'm going to leave it at that. If anything arises through, any questions pop up for you from this, please let me know about them. Put them into the chat. What does this stir up in you? What questions does it awaken in you? What does it have you wondering? What does it have you wanting to know more about? Please let me know. And if you resonated with this, please share it far and wide. And lastly, if you are curious, if you're feeling that urge to step into using sound as your medicine, then send me a DM. I've got a beautiful sound practitioner mentorship, and I would be more than happy to walk with you through that. Okay, thanks for tuning in. I will see you again soon.